Flexible vacations at beautiful resorts or a money pit? Timeshares could be an answer or a big problem for sellers who can't find buyers. Enter timeshare resellers who promise buyers for a price. But BBB complaints show some paid up front and got nothing. So, how do you sell your timeshare? Do resellers work? Questions you must ask before losing more money. That's today's Joe Knows Better. I'm Joe Ducey with the Better Business Bureau, and this is Joe Knows Better. And I'm here today with Michelle Marin with the Better Business Bureau. Michelle, glad you're here.
Thank you.
Interesting topic today.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah, and we're glad to have Jeremy Russo with Vacation Ownership Consultants with us, accredited BBB business. Thanks for that.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I mean, a lot of people want to know about timeshares. I think there's this mystery around them. I think for some people they could be really good, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, some people have good experiences. And then, of course, we hear about the other side, where timeshares aren't, they have problems with it. First of all, tell me what your business is.
Sure. So we focus on helping people out of any timeshare situation that they have. So our main goal is if anyone has a timeshare, no matter what their situation is, they can reach out to us, inquire, and we can give them different options.
Okay, options like, what would the options be?
It depends. Everything's a kind of a case-by-case scenario. Mm-hmm. So options would be, for example, if someone has a timeshare, it's paid off, maybe they're older and they just don't travel anymore, or their partner has been deceased and they don't want it anymore, they can contact the developer first, see if the developer will work with them. If the developer chooses not to work with them, then they need to go out and seek help. That's when they would reach out to a company like us.
And then you would try to sell that for them. You would have buyers. You would look for it just as a realtor in a way. Is it licensed?
Sure. So great question. We do the complete opposite.
Okay.
We do not resell timeshare.
Okay.
I've been in the industry for about 15 years. Mm-hmm. I've seen the resale industry. Most timeshares hold little to no value. And the reason for that is it's a liability. When you sell a timeshare to somebody, they are taking over mandatory fees that are required to be paid every year, whether they use it or not. So we use a different approach. We use timeshare attorneys that will help our customers work with the developers to try to work out some sort of reasonable solution for that developer to take it back.
Developers love you.
Absolutely love us.
Yeah. Okay. My gosh, man, I can imagine some of the conversations that were held. So what do people come? Let's start at where people come to you. Why? Sure. What are some of the scenarios, the most common scenarios that people have where they say, "Man, I just can't do this anymore.
We need the help."
Yep, gotcha. I would say number one scenario is availability. Okay. Somebody buys a timeshare. Their goal is to use it, right? They went on vacation. They bought a timeshare. They love the resort. Most of these resorts are great places. And so they decide to purchase it. Now they want to use it. Well, the problem is when you go to use these timeshares, a lot of time there's no availability for the specific location you want to go to.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably number one reason.
Right.
Number two reason is if you do finance with the timeshare, meaning you put a deposit down just like a mortgage, the average interest rate is about 16%. Okay. And they do it over a 10-year loan. So quick math, you buy a $20,000 timeshare, small deposit, make those minimum payments for 10 years, you're paying closer to $40,000. That does not include the annual maintenance fee bills.
Let me rewind a little bit. Can you do a rewind sound? Yeah, there you go. Let's do that. Let's go into what a timeshare actually is, because for people who don't really understand what that is, how are they sold? What do you get? What are you supposed to get?
Sure. So let's start with a deeded timeshare, okay, which is really how timeshare started. Okay. You buy your 1 week per year, right? So you have 52 weeks in a year. So
is that typically the time frame that they get on an annual basis?
Yeah, correct. Okay. Yep. Now, again, you can choose to buy multiple weeks, of course, but most people will start with 1 week. Okay. So you buy 1 week, you go to Myrtle Beach, right? It's somewhere you've gone every year with your family. Excuse me. Instead of going retail, you go through a timeshare presentation and say, okay, we like coming to this destination every year. We'll have 1 week. Let's just say we come Christmas week. Okay, so week 52, we buy that week, and now that is our week in that unit 10, and we get access to that unit every single year. Okay, you pay an upfront fee to have access to that, and you pay an annual fee because there's maintenance, there's upkeep, and you own 1/52nd of that unit.
So that unit's being sold 52 times, that one unit?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. So When timeshares originally started, I personally think that worked very well. I have family members, uncles that owned a great timeshare down in Myrtle Beach. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, so being in Ohio, you went to Florida and Myrtle Beach. Those are the vacations we took. We used his, we used his unit all the time. He eventually bought another unit. We stayed in one with our family. He stayed one in the other. It worked out great. So that's really how timeshare started.
And you own these things at the time. I mean, they were deeded.
Correct.
So you had a deed and it followed you. I mean, you either had to keep it and pay these maintenance fees or sell, I guess, and try to get out of the deed.
Yeah,
just like you would a piece of property.
What. Yep, yeah, exactly. So again, because you own, 1/52 of that property, you are responsible for it. So if there's a hurricane damage or there's flood damage or they just need to do basic upkeep, you are responsible for 1/52 of the cost of that unit.
And they're not being sold that way as much anymore, correct?
Correct. Not as much anymore.
Change? How does that change?
Yeah. So what we've seen in the industry of how basically it's changed is that when you have a property that has 50 units and you can sell each unit 52 times, you're maxed out. You can't sell it anymore. Now you're collecting annual maintenance fee bills, which should be enough to still be profitable for that developer, right? However, what we've seen of change is that developers will invite those owners back in, have the owners trade their deed back into the developer. Now the developer holds that deed, and they will turn around and sell you something called points.
Okay.
I see more issues with points than we do with deeds.
And why would that be?
Well, the main reason is, again, when you bought the deed, you bought it to go to that location every year. You own that week, it's yours.
Okay.
Well, the moment you get rid of that deed, you don't have a set time anymore.
Got it.
Now, again.
So the problem is you can't get in when you want?
Correct. A lot of the times, that's one of the main complaints is just availability. Where it's like, hey, I would be willing to pay the fee every year if I could actually use it.
Get in.
But if I say I want to go to California and they tell me, well, sorry, there's nothing available, but I can get you to Branson, Missouri, well, that's not what I purchased it for. So that becomes one of our major complaints at the end of the day is just basic availability. And so, to spend that amount of money up front, pay an annual fee to maintain
which is about
a property.
Average.
What, the
fee,
upfront cost?
The fee.
Or the annual fee?
The annual fee.
So they fluctuate on a low end around 1,000, on a high end around 3,000.
So about 2,000 average
Correct.
a year for maintenance fees or whatever. Okay, you're going to get into how much generally do people pay for timeshares?
Again, fluctuates as well based on the location, the developer you are purchasing from, right? There's a lot of different factors.
Okay.
We see on the low end around $15,000 to $20,000 upfront for the purchase, with that average of a $2,000 a year annual maintenance fee bill. Now, those fees can go up to $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Again, based on the unit. Is it oceanfront? Is it in Maui? Is it peak season? So a lot of those play into, a lot of those play those factors there.
So some of the problems are people come to you and say, I can't get it. Can't get the weeks I want. I'm not happy with it anymore. I want to get rid of it. Right?
Correct. Yep.
Any other big reasons that people get out of it? It's just other than the big cost?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, again, number one, availability. Number two, the cost. Number three is just the usage.
Yeah.
Some people don't use them anymore.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of our clientele are elderly people who simply can't travel, or they don't travel like they used to, or now their main point of travel is to visit grandkids, not go on vacation, or spouse has deceased. And they simply just can't use it anymore. And when they call that developer back to explain it, the developer usually doesn't have the best options or the best solution for that customer. So once they've exhausted those options, which we do recommend, we always say contact your developer first.
That's a good
tip. See if
tip.
they'll give you options. It's always the number one thing.
Yeah.
That's like anything. If you have an issue with anything you bought or something that's
Exactly.
going on, contact the person you purchased it from.
Do they usually take it back?
No, they usually don't.
So they're looking for people like you.
Correct.
Who are going to get them out of it, and basically. Now, there's a whole industry that's developed, and you say you're not doing what these some of these others are doing, but it's to sell these timeshares or to get rid of them for these people, help these people out of them. The timeshare resale industry. I'm not talking about, I think some of the businesses are named similar to that. I'm not talking about a specific business, but the industry itself.
Sure.
But yeah, so, there's another fee that's involved with that. And we get complaints about people who pay for these timeshare resellers a certain amount of money up front. They don't get anything, or they're hit up again later where they're told, hey, there's this big sale going on. If you're part of this, it's going to be $2,000 though, and you're going to get rid of that thing, and then they don't get rid of it. So these people feel victimized again. How are you different from some of those things?
Sure, good question. So first, let's focus on the resale scenario, okay? And let's compare it to a home. because we're calling this real estate, which, you know, timeshares is real estate technically, at least that they, you know, that's at least what they call it, especially, excuse me, when there's a deeded week. So when you sell a home, do you pay a real estate agent their commission up front? No. So why would you pay a reseller money up front to list your property? They're really called listing companies. They are advertising your property. You are paying for ad space is what you're doing. So you are, you know, so these companies are, you know, when you approach them and they're saying, you know, they're giving you this evaluation, we think we can get $15,000 for your timeshare, okay? But we need $2,500 up front to, you know, create, you know, an ad, which is really what, a paragraph about what the timeshare is. They take a couple pictures from, you know, Google, they post it on a website. During that time, that client has to continue to pay their fees.
Right.
Okay. You can't use your timeshare because how can you sell it if you're using it?
Right.
Right. So now you're continuing to pay your annual fee. You've paid your money up front to resell that time, correct? Which again is really just a listing company. And now it sits there year after year and it typically never sells. Now, to your point of what you just said, where
they come back in again.
Correct. They'll come back. Hey, great news. We got this big promotion.
Have you heard of that?
I have, absolutely.
Okay.
They'll say it's holidays, it's this, it's that.
Right.
And hey, we need another $2,500 because, you know, we're doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
So now the client's thinking, all right, well, I've already paid them. I'm already in this
I got
situation.
money in the game.
I'm invested into it.
Sounds good, right? These guys are good salesmen. Let's pay another $2,500. So now I'm $5,000 into selling this thing that I was told I could get $15,000 from. So now I'm down to 10, right? Because I have $5,000 into it.
Theoretically.
It sits there longer and longer and longer. So typically these never sell, excuse me. And so once that client has exhausted that option, then they say, okay, this is no longer working. They'll typically try and get their money back. Somewhere in that agreement is guaranteeing that they're not selling that timeshare because again, it was just really ad space.
That's what.
So now they stop doing that, and then that's when they would come to a company like ours and try to seek, you know, different help.
And that's what I'm going to get into. We had a couple complaints here. I paid them, let's see, paid them up front. This is one big one that people have been saying, that they were told the government allowed us to get out of our timeshare without penalty, but we had to do it now or wouldn't be able to do it later. You heard that one?
I haven't.
Okay.
But that would be a blatant lie. I mean, why would the government allow something like that? They have no involvement in timeshare whatsoever.
So red flag.
Yeah,
That's
red
a red flag.
So I paid them $12,000 out of my retirement fund. Let's see, another one. Timeshare Mexico, about 90 days ago, they called and told me they were ready to close the case and needed $3,800 more to close it, and I'd be receiving my money back. I've called them, nothing. So that's the kind of thing you're talking about. Those are the kind of complaints that we're seeing through BBB Scam Tracker. And I would also say, we're talking about BBB, that BBB.org is a great place to go to find places that are legitimate, reviews about places before you do business with them.
Yeah, do your research.
Make sure they're accredited. Look online to see of these kinds of places. All right, we got into you now. What do you do that's different?
Yeah, so again, we're not reselling any sort of property whatsoever. If there was a resale market, we'd be all over it.
Sure.
We'd all be
There's no market
billionaires
for it.
because everybody wants out of their timeshare. You got about 10 million timeshare owners in the country. You call all 10 million of them, majority of them would love an opportunity to get out of them. So again, there's just no resale business. So what we're doing is we're working with timeshare attorneys.
How are you paid?
Sure. Yeah. So we charge a one-time flat consulting fee for our services. I'm going to go back to the real estate, kind of the real estate scenario. You don't pay a real estate agent their commission up front. If they're going to go out and sell your timeshare and they have all these great deals and they're getting ready to close right now, why do they need $3,800 to close, right? So you should get paid once that timeshare is completed. We're doing things different where you are contracting a lawyer. When you hire a lawyer for anything you're doing, I don't care what it is, a speeding ticket, a divorce, no matter what it is, a lawyer charges money up front. So they don't have to pay all that money up front. We require a deposit. So you have to pay a deposit to get started. You can make monthly payments during that process. That's going to be the difference of why we do charge a fee up front opposed to a reseller doing it. And again, I'll go back to kind of, if you're going to sell something, you have to earn a commission to do that.
What if you don't, or you're not able to help them? Can they get their money back?
So good question. So again, when we do a no-cost consultation, so let's kind of go through the process. Somebody reaches out, they're upset about their situation. They have to fill out what we call is an eligibility form. They have to be eligible. They have to provide their documents. They have to let us know what their situation is. Once we have that, then we schedule a no-cost consultation. Usually takes 30 minutes to an hour. based on the amount
So
of
it is like an
questions that
attorney
they have.
would do in their
Correct.
office. Yeah.
Exactly. So same thing. You're having an issue, speeding ticket, DUI, whatever it is, you go and you sit down with an attorney. Attorney's going to say, let me see that speeding ticket. Let me see the information. Let me evaluate your case. And I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, what the costs are going to be. But attorney can't guarantee something, right? You can't go through a divorce and say, if I give you X amount of dollars, can you guarantee, an outcome? They're going to say, this is what we think we can do. However, if we don't guarantee that you get custody in the home, we don't just give you your money back. We're still working. Now, one step further, instead of charging you per an hour, okay, most attorneys $300, $400, $500 an hour. Instead of charging per an hour, we're going to do a one-time flat fee. Okay, the average fee is around $2,500 to $3,000 paid off timeshare. Okay, so,
Do they look for problems in the contract they can point to? Do they? I mean, what do they do?
Sure. So a lot of these contracts are very buttoned up by the developer. Okay, they give a client an 80-page contract that probably no person has ever read except for an actual attorney. Okay, so they're going to use a different way of reach out to the developer and say, hey, we have Jane Doe. She's 70 years old. Okay, she's owned this thing for 20 years. She's paid you X amount of dollars. She hasn't used it in 7 years. Her husband's deceased. She reached out to you and you offered no solution. We're here to see, can you do anything to take it back? Sometimes it results in what's called a settlement agreement. The resort may say, okay, pay us one more year of maintenance fee bill up front, and we will, we'll take back the timeshare.
Terminate the contract.
Correct. And this, I always want to be very upfront. This varies because a paid off timeshare where there's no loan, you've owned it for years, is going to be very different than if you still owe a developer $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
So
two completely different scenarios.
have you been pretty successful then with settlements? You said you have been.
Yes, we have.
If there hasn't been the agreement to settle, the people typically don't get out.
So there are scenarios, which is why we always say, fill out an eligibility form.
Right.
Let us take a look at your documents. Again, tell us what your situation is. We'll be able to let you know if we can help you or not. If we can't help you, we may give you, other advice to seek legal counsel maybe in your own state and have them see if they can maybe step in.
Yeah,
and
because
give you assistance.
we see complaints sometimes where the consumer feels that the business should have never taken them on as a client because they would have never been able to help them, but they still took them on and kind of led them on a wild goose chase, if you will, take all the fees, but then consumer feels that they never would have been successful.
Again, this is why we really go through a step-by-step process before we even take on that business.
The client.
And again, another extra step is when they're looking through our contracts and we're explaining we can maybe get a settlement offer, right, so on and so forth. And when they ask that question of, well, what if the developer doesn't work with me? I've already called the developer 10 times.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
And they refuse to work with me.
I wanted to ask you that.
Right, okay.
Because why can't, I was going to play devil's advocate and you said go back to the developer. Why can't they just do the same thing you're doing for them?
Sure. So typically when you are a consumer and you're calling the timeshare, you're speaking to the retention department, the level A representative that is answering the phone. They have a script, right? They have directions of what they can and cannot do, and there's nothing beyond that.
Okay.
Well, when we get involved and they hire our timeshare attorney is reaching out to the developer's timeshare attorney. Now we've skipped all those steps, and now we're talking attorney to attorney, which is how most solutions get resolved. It's a very different process. That consumer is never having the opportunity to talk to typically a true decision maker or an attorney of that developer to help them make that decision.
Okay. I think it's good.
Yeah, that's good
I think it's,
information.
and I just want to make sure that we say that for timeshares, for some people work out well. I'm not coming, this isn't to come down on the timeshare industry. There are some that work out well, some that don't. I think it's really just about and also the selling business afterwards. I mean, it's, I think there's a lot of questions you need to ask. You need to be worried about the upfront fees that happen and the fees that are going to probably happen later. And I think the promises that they have a buyer for you. I don't know if that how many times does that actually happen? I think that's a red flag.
Yeah, I think so. I would say that is probably the biggest red flag in the industry. The other thing I would say is if you are a timeshare owner and you are looking how to get out of a timeshare, the number one thing I would do, obviously do your research. We're always going to reference the Better Business Bureau, okay? And that's not just because I'm on this podcast today. We've been accredited with you guys for many, many years. It's a very, very credible resource, and you guys do a really good job at that. But look at the longevity of that company.
Yeah.
Go look at their filing. Go look how long they've been in business.
Yeah.
If somebody just started a business 1, 2, 3 years ago, they're not going to have some crazy track record of what they're doing. Sometimes this takes a year or two to process. So again, you know, and we're not the only company that can help you, but we've been in business 11 years.
Yeah.
Look at that track record.
So you have
Look at all
competition
the
as
different-
well.
Absolutely,
You have
we
competition as well
do.
doing
Yeah,
what you do, just
yeah.
like timeshare resellers have and all that stuff. But it's something to think about. I mean, I think it's something if you have a timeshare and you really just can't do anything on your own, you're looking for ways out.
Sure.
You know. All right, Jeremy Russo with Vacation Ownership Consultants. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being accredited business. Appreciate that. So it's go to bbb.org if you've got any concerns, reviews, scam tracker. If you think you're being scammed, go there as well. And we will see you next time.